walked in through the street and you thought, that looks like good coffee. I'm sorry we weren't serving coffee. This is...
we were, I think.
Huh?
I think we were.
We were? I'm sorry we weren't serving espresso.
We were.
We were?
We have a volunteer barista.
Oh, awesome. I'm sorry. I said I'm sorry. I'm glad we were serving coffee. If I knew. So my name is Hector. I bumped into the Three Jewels by coincidence in 1996, really thinking I was going to get really drunk next door at a housewarming party. And by mistake, I popped into this place. It wasn't this one, it was another shop 3 generations back. And I met there a group of Tibetan Buddhist monks and nuns who, through serendipity, kept offering these Eastern practices that I really was extremely alien towards and probably purposely rejecting. For those of you who know me, I've told this story before. For those of you that don't, you can hopefully imagine I was reading Ayn Rand and deciding that that was my philosophy for life. And I bumped into a bunch of Tibetan Buddhist monks and nuns going, be nice to everybody, meditate, do all these practices, and you'll be fine. And I thought they were stupid, yeah? But there were a bunch of circumstances that forced me to come back and come back and come back. And each time I entered there or listened, because I did try to understand, something shifted inside of me. And to this day, that cause and effect continues to reshape a life and this world. And I hope that I can give you just a tiny fraction of the incredible bliss, insight, and reality check that comes from truly investigating your own mind. Yeah, they didn't give me anything other than to push me to look at things in a slightly different way. And I didn't want it, but I could not try it because it made sense and it challenged a bunch of views. And I resisted and fought and whatever. And 20 something years later, I'm like telling you, you should try these practices. They're really awesome. Yeah, so I'd like to premise it by that. I'm a reluctant practitioner of Buddhism. I'd rather you all don't become Buddhists. Yeah, I'd rather you all don't get dogma, but I would really like for your minds to really, truly investigate the nature of what is, yeah, and where you are placed in this thing we call our universe. So with that introduction, this is the last course out of 18 from the Asian Classics Institute. The foundation of these courses are precise and accurate, authentic translations from texts in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition. Exactly the same that His Holiness the Dalai Lama has to learn in order to do his study. Any monk and nun in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition belonging to the ideas of the Dalai Lama must study these books. In fact, all Tibetan Buddhists do, but there are different schools. So this is directly from the teacher, one of the teachers of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, taught Ken Rinpoche, who moved to the United States when Tibet was invaded in the late 50s. And then he taught a bunch of Westerners, one of which was Geshe Michael Roach, the first Western person to graduate in a Tibetan monastery. First American. There was another person from Europe. And in the 90s, when I bumped into the Three Jewels by mistake, they were live delivering and translating these courses for the very first time in the Western Hemisphere, in the English language. So a 20-year curriculum that happens in a Tibetan monastery where you study these great 5 texts of Eastern philosophy, the condensed version of the Buddhist teachings, takes 20 years to graduate, was condensed into a 6-year program, of which I was fortunate enough to be one of the first people to attend. And then 20 years of trying to practice some of it to the best of my capacity, I get to share the same. And this is the last of the 18 courses that I've been offering here. I started looking like this in 2011. So this should really, this should really encourage you to teach, right? If you learn all this stuff and you pass it on to someone else, this could happen to you too. And I wish I could show you the internal transformation. The kind of person I was then, even 6 years ago, 7 years ago, is very different to the way I experience life today. More on that later. So 3 Jewels is, this is the foundation of 3 Jewels, the Asian Classics Institute courses that cover a whole bunch of practices, all from the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, all translated word by word from the original texts in Sanskrit to the Tibetan commentaries and the personal advices from teacher to student. And I'm not allowed to make anything up. I'm allowed to tell you my experience of trying these things on, but I'm supposed to tell you precisely whatever His Holiness was taught and every other Buddhist in this tradition. So I hope you take it for what it is. It's really lovely, I want to say, to see some faces that were there in 2011. So if you were there in 2011 in some of these first classes, put up your hand. Yeah, it's really, really sweet to see you. Yeah. Thanks for returning and continuing and studying and devoting your mind to these ideas. There is no quick fix to the issues of life and living. But there is a different way of engaging with life. And these practices give you that. They give you an option to say, is there a different way to engage with what is? And can I do it? Is the hard part. And if you can, then you must get your results that are particular to your efforts. Yeah. There's no magic wand, and no Buddha is going to come and go, shrink, you're fixed. Yeah, there's no alternate nostril breathing that's going to fix it all for you. But really, there isn't. Yeah, not from its own side. It requires your mind. And what it is, the hardest thing is to flip the view of what the world is and where it comes from. That is the crux of what we're teaching. And I hope to give you a slight insight into that at the beginning of the class. Then when you talk about any practice, alternate nostril breathing, being kind to strangers, not yelling when you're supposed to, meditating, doing whatever the practices are that we know are practices, if you understand the key that unlocks how they function, you then have the power to reinterpret, re-engage your world, and hopefully you don't have to read Ayn Rand. Yeah. So in this review course, it's so nice to see you. I'm grateful for your time. Okay. So can I embarrass you? Yeah, Naomi, I'm going to embarrass you. Yeah. So Naomi is here. She is the personal assistant to the director of to the president of the General Assembly.
I'm a senior advisor.
Senior advisor, sorry.
It's okay.
To the president of the General Assembly in the UN, and you're running sessions right now.
They're meeting now.
I know, they're meeting now. I know that because of traffic. Yeah. And so I'm really, really happy to see you, and the work that you're doing is incredible. Yeah. Beautiful. So you can embarrass her too if you want to go and say hi later. And maybe ask her to change some things around the environment. And
No pressure.
No pressure or anything like that. So the content of these review courses, so understand 20 years of study in a Tibetan monastery will give you practices and shift your mind in isolation in a monastery. We get it in the Western world, working 9 to 5s and more. A shortened version, a 6-year curriculum, so you don't get to memorize, you don't get to discuss with people in your monastery about the meaning and debate and the rest. You get to go into your jobs and try and practice these ideas with your angry bosses, with your shitty clients, with your lovers, with your, with all the things that really bring reality in your face. In other words, you're on the accelerator path rather than the slow path. Yeah, and that's got consequences as well. So that's the 7-year course, right? It's supposed to be 6, but we took a little longer, 7-year course. Tonight is a summary of, so this course, the next 10 weeks, is a summary of 5 of those entire courses, 50 weeks condensed into 10 classes. Okay, so you're really getting the essence of the essence of the essence. And what that means is I hope to make sure that when you leave here, you say, okay, if I need to know more, I can access it by going to these readings that are online, or these videos of the entire course that were taught, or come back to 3 Jewels because we're teaching these on a regular basis. On Tuesday nights, there's another teacher teaching. They're up to course 5 out of 18. And then in January, we start course 1 again with a bunch of teachers. So that should give you context of why you're here from my side. I have no idea why you're here from your side. And there's probably too many of us for me to find out. I hope that whatever brought you through the door is alive and well inside of you, and that there's some things that come up today that will target that thing, that motivation, that drive, that inquisitiveness. Is that a word?
Yeah.
Yeah. And help you see it in a different way. Enough said. Here's the content of this course so you get an idea. We're studying the second half, the second 2/3 of a book called the Bodhisattvacharya Avatara, which is the guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life. And this has, we're going to talk about why not getting angry is important, why the art of patience is important. We're going to talk about why building joy in everything that you can possibly do, even the things you probably shouldn't be joyful about, will transform your mind. That's a difficult practice, but it's an essential practice if you want to achieve joy at the end of wherever this path takes us. We then look at logic and reasoning, the Tibetan art of debating and understanding, really with logic, with perception, what reality ultimately is and what it appears, and the whole idea of that illusion and how to engage with that so you have some tools. If things happen in your life that you want to shift, there's things you can do in the moment. They don't work. There's things that are powering those things that don't work and sometimes work. And understanding that ultimate cause will help you use these practices to ultimately shift your reality into having less things that you don't want and more things that you do want. Yeah. And then we flip gears from a very heady couple of classes on logic and perception. We're going, from the Eastern perspective, we're going to talk about heart advices from teachers. So this beautiful thing that happens when you have a heart connection with someone that is informing your very reality, and you're in this kind of bliss, and you think, imagine meeting the Dalai Lama and they're like your best friend. And then you're saying, like, can you help me to sort out this thing I've got in my life? And they go, okay, you could read this book, or you could study for 4 years, or you can do this. And you get this little heart advice that's particular to you, that shortcuts, speeds up processing in you. So we're going to do a couple of classes on that. And then we're going to, this is hard, this is like mind-only school, one of 4 schools of Tibetan Buddhist philosophy that interprets, that looks to understand how to interpret perceivably contradictory teachings from the Buddha. The Buddha said, oh, if you want things to not be suffering, do this. And then at a later time he goes, no, do this. And then he goes, you should do this. So what should you do? And so this course really gives you an all-around, gives you the power again to decide what is metaphor and what is literal. And by the time you get there, if you come back for that, then what can we give them, a coffee? Yeah. Congratulations. Are there any questions about the content before I dive straight in to share some of the most transformational things that I've encountered on this planet? Good. Here we go. There is a ritual that we do in the Tibetan Buddhist practice, and that is generating in our minds the most perfected state of the universe we can possibly imagine. This is called the mandala offering, and you'll see the English words up there. And some of the people here know how to chant it in Tibetan. We'll do that. You can just go blah, 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 blah in your mind. But the point is, try and generate in your heart, what would it be like if every bone in your body was perceiving this universe and every being in it in complete bliss, perfected, joyful, happy. You only have to do it for a minute. Yeah. Imagine in your mind every sentient being on this universe free of pain and in complete bliss. And then the idea is you give it away to those beings that teach us tonight. You ask them, please teach me. Here's my bribe to you. Perfect universe in exchange for a little bit of help, not getting angry. Yeah, so here we go, Steve.
Sashi
Puki Jushin Metok Tram Rira Minchi Yinde Gampadi Sangye Shindu Mize Wargi Drokun Nanda Shimla Chipasho Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kanyatayami
Sangye
Chidam Soki Shoknamba Janchu Vardu Dakni Gapsuchi Daki Chinyen Gipe Sanamki Drola Benchir Sangye Druparsho
Sangye
Chidam Soki Shoknamla Janchu Vardu Dakni Gapsuchi Daki Chinyen Gipe Sanamki Drola Benchir Sangye Druparsho
Sangye
Chidam Soki Shoknamla Janchu Vardu Dakni Gapsuchi Daki Chinyen Gipe Sanamki Drola Benchir Sangye Druparsho.
So the first class out of 10 covers this second 2/3 of the Bodhisattva Charyavatara. If you see a yellow number, a red number in a yellow circle, this might be a homework question for those of you doing the homework and quizzes. It's not required unless you really want to go deeper, but it's highly advised. For those of you who are doing the homeworks and quizzes, we haven't picked someone that's collecting them. Are you hiding?
I can do it.
Maybe you can collect them and I'm happy to take them. Yeah?
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay, cool. Thanks. So that's sort of an example of it. The original text is long gone, but this is a copy of the text. We have a sister organization called the Asian Classics Import Project, who have been scouring the planet for over 25 years, nearly 30 something years, 32 maybe, for copies of all the books that were burnt in the Chinese Revolution and the takeover of Tibet. And so when those books and libraries got burnt, this organization, Asian Classics Import Project, has been traveling the globe in libraries in Russia, Mongolia, private libraries in the Middle East. People have gone to Tibet in the 1800s and brought back manuscripts and trying to put together a copy of all the lost manuscripts. And so this is a copy of one of those. Just a quick catch up. This incredible book called the Bodhisattva Charyavatara, the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. I have to tell you what a bodhisattva is. Someone want to give me an example, a description of what a bodhisattva is? Give it a go. Come on, it's interactive.
Mother Teresa.
Mother Teresa. That's a. Let's hear it.
Bodhisattva is someone who has achieved enlightenment and chosen to stay on earth to help other beings.
Technically correct or incorrect?
Incorrect.
Incorrect technically. Okay, cool. I know that's the perception. I like the come back and return idea. It's one of the misconceptions. What's a bodhisattva?
Someone who devotes their spiritual practice to not only for themselves but for the benefit of everyone.
What makes someone a bodhisattva? So a bloody do-gooder, you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What makes someone a bodhisattva? What must they have? Say that again. Bodhicitta. They must have in them bodhicitta. What the hell's bodhicitta?
It's spontaneous wish to. It's invoked in a way that is spontaneous.
Mm-hmm. It's a wish in their heart
To help everyone.
To achieve enlightenment.
to reach enlightenment, right? Like it's unwavering in them. You imagine being a being like this, right? You've had a realization, maybe in meditation. You come out of meditation, you're sick and tired of living this life and moving the chess pieces of appeasing the boss or fighting with the boss, of having 3 relationships and the 4th one is going to work out. No, the 5th one's going to work out. Having a full bank account and then an empty bank account, fixing the bad knee and then the other knee goes. Yeah. Imagine living through this life continuously, and at some point through your practice, you have a realization that lets you see how you can shift all that. And so you have this fervor, either intellectual or experiential, that says, I want to be free from that suffering. I want to reach a state of enlightenment. Yeah? I want to be a Buddha, someone who woke up from this illusion. And all that has codes and meanings, right? But try and get that conception. I want to do that so much. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I know there's a way out. Not maybe, I have faith that perhaps. I'm certain. I've seen something, yeah, either intellectually or directly. And all I want is to get free from this. And as I do that, I want everyone else that I know to be free as well, because I'm not the only one in this situation. Imagine actually having that as an uncontrived wish that appears in your heart. That is called bodhicitta, the wish to reach enlightenment, freedom from the day-to-day uncertainty of what's going to happen next, or the certainty of what is going to happen that we don't want. Yeah, like aging, sickness, death, breakups, bad bosses, low bank accounts, blemishes on my skin. Yeah, no hair. Imagine like not being attached to those things and going, oh, there's a different way to engage with this reality and I can be in bliss. And I want that for everyone else. So that's bodhicitta, yeah, to have that wish. A bodhisattva is someone who has that, yeah? And there's two rituals that we do to try and get that. There's a bunch of practices you do to become a bodhisattva, and there's a bunch of, that you can either wish that or you can take action to do that, yeah? So this book is the instruction manual on how to do that. This book, the Bodhisattva Charivatara, and it's got 10 chapters. Are they up there? Yeah. And we've covered the beginning, the first 5 chapters, I think we've covered. And so the root text is Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, Master Shantideva. His story is incredible, around 700 AD. And then we're getting a commentary by Gyaltsuk Je on the entry point for the children of the victorious Buddhas. What does that mean? What the hell does that mean? There's this word, entry point, in the Tibetan lexicon that describes when you're trying to cross a river, you don't cross the river in the deepest part. You look for the part that would be shortest between shore, and that you won't drown on the way. So that becomes your entry point to cross, right? And the children of the victorious Buddhas are bodhisattvas, beings who have this wish to become a Buddha, a being who is free from the pains and sufferings of what we call samsara, the life that just continuously breaks up. Yeah, I know it sounds depressing. I used to think, my God, these Buddhists are just talking about really depressing things all the time. And I wasn't hearing it correctly. They're talking about reality. Yeah, at some point you must face these realities. Pretending they don't exist is actually one of the causes for pain. Seeing things for what they are lets you fix them, lets you know what you're dealing with. Walking around going, no, I'm gonna be fine, my hair is gonna stay, would cause you pain, you know? Hi, do you need a baby chair?
We have one over here. Oh, there's one doesn't open here.
I love this, everyone's moving for the baby.
She wants to be against the wall. So sorry.
Here.
You're good, animal. Yeah. So this book is a guidebook for all the essential practices. It's like a condensed book on all the essential practices that can get you to enlightenment. Become a bodhisattva. You want to fast track? Become a bodhisattva. And so in this class, and sorry, who's Gyaltsab J? Those of you who have been studying, I want to know if you...
Jason Kappa's
Jason Kappa's
right-hand man?
one of his main disciples, right or left?
Right.
If you're facing.
Hey, good.
I don't know which one it is.
But you knew the beginning of the answer. Okay, check that out if you've been studying. Who's Gyaltsab J? Yeah, out of the two main students of Jason Kappa.
Is it the other one Gyaltsab J? Or
Kedru, yeah,
Kedru.
Kedru J. So we're studying the chapter on patience, which is chapter 6. For those of you that know what this thing called the six, who's heard of the 6 perfections? You know what the 6 perfections are? This is a shortcut of becoming a bodhisattva. You practice these 6 things and you'll be fine. It's a shortcut to the shortcut, which is the book. Yeah, so we're just doing shortcuts. And we're touching on the chapter on patience. And patience, I'll tell you ahead of time, isn't being okay waiting for a couch from IKEA that never came. Okay?
No.
I know, so sorry. It was our 6th year wedding anniversary, no, loving anniversary, and we don't have a couch.
I just found out.
Yeah, very upsetting. Extremely, extremely upsetting. So there's a whole chapter, check this out, there are 6 perfections, right? Perfection of giving, perfection of ethical behavior, like having a clean conscience, yeah? Then there's a perfection of not getting upset when you should, not letting your mind get shitty even when it must, when you think it's right too, because the main loser is you. Yeah, and so I'm typing up the class for today. There's like 5 slides on not getting angry, right? And I'm on the phone with IKEA for an hour. I've been waiting since 2 p.m. At 4 o'clock, I'm proactive and I called them, right? And what's the teaching for Hector? I've got to teach everybody about being patient, right?
Don't buy
It's
IKEA
here,
couches.
right? Like every minute, I'm like, okay, what are you teaching me? Yeah, so hopefully I get to relate in a very real example.
I feel like the last time you were teaching this,
I was also angry.
you were waiting for the drone,
Oh.
the illegal drone.
We're waiting for the illegal drone, don't say that. So there's a whole chapter. I'm giving you the taste of if you're going to take on practices that will transform the reality you're currently living in. Don't forget, it's not just, oh, I'm learning Tibetan Buddhism. I don't care about that. You could learn 1,000 other things. They're not going to help you if it doesn't connect to the wisdom that says you have power to transform your mind. And one of the things these books are saying is you need to fix anger. And we'll talk about why. The other thing it says is you got to find any means possible to inject, infect joy in everything that happens to you and everything you do. There's a whole chapter on joy, getting happy, being childlike and loving everything, even if it's not lovable. Wow. Why is that going to help me? I want to punch IKEA in the face. Why should I be joyful talking to this shitty person? Yeah. So it's a very confronting practice, even though it's like, oh, be joyful. Yeah, who wants to be joyful? Let's see. Anyone wants to be joyful? Okay, be joyful. Why are we in class? Just be joyful. Come on. It sounds so simple, but when you get into it, it's so much work because we have lifetimes of habits of thinking our response is going to fix things. Being angry is going to help that couch get here earlier. Yeah, didn't work. Then there's the chapter on concentration, on meditation, and we're going to touch a little bit on the chapter on wisdom, which comes in 2 classes from now. And then the practice of dedication. This book is an incredible book. You'll get access, you have access to it if you go to the website and download the translation, the commentary, both Bodhisattva Charavattara and Gyaltsab Je's entry point commentary. You'll get access to it. And some of the passages, which I've just peppered in here once or twice, are just, you could read them all day, just one 4-line passage. And if you know what it means, it will change your day. And I hope that happens to you. I've got to give you a little premise first. Everything, who's heard the word emptiness? Put up your hand, emptiness, okay? Who's heard the word karma? These things go hand in hand. It's 2 sides of the same coin. I'm going to give you a quick download of the essential understanding of what karma and emptiness mean. I'm going to touch on what it doesn't mean, because that's the key that unlocks all of these practices. Without understanding this, you're just going to be busy collecting practices. Left nostril first, left nostril second. Do I roll my eyes up a lot or a little bit? Yeah. Do I be kind to this person and not that person? Yeah. Do I meditate like this or like this? Yeah. Do I have to be joyful even when I'm like crying inside? Yeah. All these practices, wisdom, think of wisdom, being wise. Yeah. Angry boss comes and yells at you. What should I do? I have to be joyful, I have to have wisdom, I have to be meditating, I've got to do alternate nostril breathing. I'm fired. If you don't understand, if we don't understand this key, then all those practices, which are awesome practices, will just seem like more work to do. Joy! So, can I have a pen? Yeah. Thank you. Okay. If you've heard it, maybe you didn't hear it 1,000 times. You've heard it 900 times. Yeah. Try and follow the logic, because this will unlock what karma and emptiness really mean. It's just an example. But if you get this, it's so simple we miss it. If you get this, then this gets applied to the angry boss, to the alternate nostril breathing, to the angry or not getting angry, to the nature of my mind, to whether my experience as a human being has to be the way every other human being goes, and whether other people can see me have that experience or not. There is nothing that this does not apply to, okay? So I'm going to ask him just nominally answer. What is this? Pen? Yeah. Anybody disagree? Baby, not allowed to speak. Yeah. It's a pen. Duh. Yeah. This object is a pen. Yes or no? Yeah. It is. It's not a pen for us. Don't get philosophical at this point, right? We've studied, but try and remain in the moment, because this is what we experience. I see this and my mind goes, pen. Yeah. It doesn't say banana. It doesn't say IKEA couch. So that's what it is, right? And we're looking at it, and you're all looking at this, and that's what it is. It's not this. A dog walks in here, and a dog's perceptual apparatus engages with this object, and it says, chew toy. It says, sorry, yeah. It doesn't say, hey, I better chew on it, right? It doesn't do that. To the best of our knowledge, that's what we have. Yeah, every time we put it in front of a dog, no puppy has gone, right, that we can witness. Yeah, and so in our perceptual capacity, sure it's a pen, but a puppy walks in here, and for them, this object, same object, is a chew toy. Now, if I place this object on the floor, and I say puppies go away and humans go away, what is it at that time? Think about it, right? Like hold that space in your mind. Try and imagine this object without you imagining this object, problem, right? Imagine this object without a perceiver of this object. What is it by its side, by itself? And you should come up with a kind of blank, right? A kind of dissonance in your mind that says, well, give me an answer, someone. Don't ask anyone for the answer. You have the answer in you. Now, see how your answer comes up. A puppy dog walks into the room and its eyes lock onto that object. What does that object become then? Chew toy. For, and a human walks in and it becomes?
A pen.
Okay. Is this a pen or a chew toy?
Yes.
This thing by itself, without us. Hard, right? But simple. You know the answer. But it short circuits out every understanding, because then we think we can't go around living if this is true. And this is true. This is a pen. This is a chew toy. Dependent on who's engaging with it. So if that's true, when we put it down and no one's engaging with it, we go into this, that gives you a hint of what emptiness is. This is not a pen from its own side, by itself, separate from me. It is empty of having that nature. Yeah, that's all. It's not brain surgery, right? It's just, it is empty. It lacks being pen from its own side. How do we know that to be absolutely true?
Because the dog doesn't see it as a pen.
If it was emanating like radiation, pen, 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 then dogs must go, oh, pen. Yeah? Or if it was emanating chew toy, I know it sounds simplistic, but it is like foolproof. And it is reality. This object without you ain't pen, sorry. This object without dog ain't chew toy, sorry. So if that's true, where is pen coming from? This way, pen, or this way? This way. Where is chew toy from? Coming from this way or that way? Yeah. If we get that as a base understanding, then emptiness means this object, there's nothing in it forcing me to perceive it a certain way. It is empty of what I see it. Fair? What makes it full of pen? Something in me. That is karma. We're going to investigate that, right? The projection that my mind does without me choosing. Because I can't wish it to be, if this is empty, therefore it can be anything, infinite potential, let's all make it into the IKEA couch. Okay, I'm going to put it there so it can come. Let's try it. No, really try it. Everybody think IKEA couch on this object. It's empty of being pen. It's an empty object. Okay, soon we'll all lay down on the IKEA couch, which is supposed to be a bed. Yeah, but opens up into a bed. It's really lovely so we can have guests, right? So let's try really hard and make it that is empty. It's not a pen. Let's make it into IKEA couch. Ready? No, let's make it into bubble tea. Yay! Thank you. Did it become a IKEA couch? Is it not a pen?
Water it.
What?
Maybe we have to water it.
Maybe we have to water the couch. So it's not a process of, yes, it's coming from your mind. No, you can't change it in the moment. Fair? So far, everyone understands that? Karma and emptiness. We'll go deeper, an entire chapter devoted on that. But if you don't know that, then there is no point in understanding all the other practices. You're just busy doing other stuff. Bye.
What is that?
Alternate nostril breathing. Really badly. Yeah, I know. So I used to get so annoyed at my teacher because that's all he would teach, class after class after class after class. And one day I got it. I'm like, oh my goodness, I wasn't even hearing it right. And I saw this object for not a pen. It didn't take long, but I smelled it, not just intellectually. I'm like, oh, I got a physical sensation of what that would feel like. And it made me sort of stubborn, try and figure it out. And so like all of a sudden, I know what karma and emptiness is, so I'm good. 5 years later, I'm like, oh, I didn't understand. And then you get deeper. And then 5 years later, you go, oh. The person interpreting that didn't understand the interpreting that, and you get deeper. This is not a once off, oh, I got that, no problem. But it will give you the foundation, the key to grab any practice, any spiritual literature, including the Bible, and say, can this function? Can I turn this into a practice that frees me from suffering? With this key, you can transform your world. Why? Because if you understand what it is that forced our minds to make this into pen, if we then investigate what that is, what those karmas are that are forcing us to see pen or forcing someone to see chew toy, if you can understand that and begin to put the courses in to see it as an IKEA couch, then this must become an IKEA couch for someone. For someone, yeah? Obviously not for us. Premise understood? Good, let's dig deep. Sorry I didn't get to your question. I want that just to float in your head, yeah? And we'll get to it again. I want you to tell me how anger creates problems for us, just normally. What's a problem with being angry?
Well, in your body, it sends like stress signals.
Great.
Which, you know, like over time, will kill you.
Nice. Okay. That's a problem. Other problems with anger. Who's been angry? Like really, really angry? Yeah. Yeah. Who's been angry at IKEA? No.
You act impulsively, and then usually that impulse is not really awesome.
Yeah, if it's colored with anger, you either say or do things that you might later regret. Who's done that? Who's done that in a relationship? Yeah? Said things, the baby saying you. You say things, you do things with that energy in your system. Yes, biologically, it'll kill you. But what's it doing to your mind? And then what's it doing to people outside of you? Have you ever been with someone you've loved, really loved, and then time goes by and then you don't love them as much, right? And so then you say something stupid in a moment of anger. Who's done that really? Yeah, I know I have, yeah. And as soon as you hear the words coming out of your mouth, you just want to draw them back in, but it's too late because you see their eyes and they've read the message. Can you take that back? Right? So anger does that, okay, quite nominally. This book tells you a thing that will destroy your journey to become a person that can reach enlightenment is anger. Out of all the enemies, not out there, in here, number one is anger. Yeah, it will destroy, the book will tell you, it will destroy thousands of eons of good karma, good seeds that are projecting pens rather than chew toys. And I'm like, okay, but I'm supposed to chew on all this. Not chew toy. I'm supposed to really think and analyze and question these teachings. Why so? Why would a moment of anger destroy eons or a long, long collection of good virtue? Why would that be the case?
You might be hurting someone with your anger. Your negative karma.
So you're planting a negative karma?
Because it's easier to get angry. Well,
more frequent to get angry than to have the opportunity to do something good for someone.
Okay. You're saying we get angry more than we get happy?
Yeah, because we get uncomfortable with like something jars us like, oh, that's not what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And the reaction is like...
To me, I'm smelling it. Like I have my own take on it, not the book's take, but I'll share it.
So I guess what I think it is because it's like you said, you're not only hurting yourself and kind of your experience, you're also hurting somebody kind of for the rest of their life because you said that one
That's amazing
thing.
Okay, cool. So get this, karma, we said, is the thing that projects a penny, right? And take that to everything. It projects your reality, what this room means to you, how it feels, how you think of a person when you look at them, when you think of them, etc., right? Karmas are mental seeds, if you like, that are planted there. How? How are they entering your mind in the first place? By everything you think, everything you say, and everything you do. You are your own recorder. Your mind is aware of what your mind is doing, saying, body is saying and doing, right? So then it doesn't matter whether you're in your own room, no one's there, and you're typing up a class on joy, and you want to swear at the operator who's not giving you the answer you want. I'm planting those karmas at that moment. And to go to your point, when you are angry, the intensity of your emotion is way higher than if you're just walking around getting a latte and saying hi to your boss and, oh, I don't want that. This is sort of low-level mind intensity. But when you're angry, the intensity is quite strong. So the imprint is very powerful. The book says, directed at a bodhisattva. What does that mean?
Like because there's someone who's dedicated their life to reaching enlightenment for the sake of all others. So it's like a teacher, and you're angry at them.
So what would that be destroying your mental continuum for happiness?
Because
so strongly.
Your mental continuum for happiness. You're witnessing it, and then
right.
you're shitting on it.
Right. So
being angry at it.
Explain it in a. Explain again.
Okay. You can only see someone as a bodhisattva if you have the good virtue that's
nice, projecting, spreading out. Yeah.
And then if you choose to treat that virtue in such a way that desecrates it, that doesn't honor all of the hard work you've done to experience someone that way, then it's a bad seed. You're witnessing yourself treating the most beautiful object like shit.
Yeah, cool.
And then it will turn into shit because you're treating it that way.
And then that whole thing disconnects. The whole capacity of becoming that disconnects in your mind. And you're out of the chance of becoming that because you're like, flick them off. In your mind, you've recorded it. It must have consequences. Cause and effect, cause and effect. What you put in comes out. What you put in comes out.
Do you have to know that they're a bodhisattva?
Good question. Next question. Imagine, okay? I want to make this practical, okay? They're all big words, bodhisattva, bodhicitta, blah, blah, blah. But it's talking about you and your humanity, your beingness. And you don't have to go, this teaching say, you don't have to go through the cycles of samsara. It's possible to get enlightened. It's possible to be freed from all that stuff. That's what we're studying. That's the theory. But it has to be real. So who the hell is a bodhisattva? Imagine you having an experience in meditation or wherever where you're like, oh my God, I'm sick and tired of suffering. I don't want that anymore. All I want is to wake up and I want my mum to come too. I want my friends to come too. I want to figure it out, and then I want to help every creature that I've ever connected with because they also are suffering. I know because I've been with them. Imagine actually having that feeling, okay? We talked about it. So imagine it in your body. I like that you said it in your body, stuff happens. Something would shift in your body, right? You'd get a kind of focus and peace and so on. So let's all imagine we're all bodhisattvas. Look around at everybody as if they are that. did their faces change from what you saw them when you walked in? Did their hair turn purple? Sorry. Yes, they did. Yes, it did. Did they grow a baby? Yes, they did. Did they get a pink shirt on? Yes, they did. Right? Has something physically changed? Do you know who's a bodhisattva in here?
Only if you have the karma to pursue that.
Ah, cool. Can you ever be sure that that person is not a bodhisattva? How's that? Better question.
If you're a Buddha.
Once you're enlightened. But as you're trying to get enlightened, trying to accumulate the seeds that must force a projection of I'm enlightened, yeah? Do you know for real? No. So anybody could be a bodhisattva, right? The angry lady, no, she wasn't so angry actually. The upset lady at the delivery company that transferred me 6 times over 45 minutes seemed a little upset, but I wasn't sure she was a bodhisattva. I wasn't sure she wasn't. So I couldn't, my mind wanted to do things to her that weren't pleasant, yeah?
But does it really matter? Because if you've made that commitment to help all beings.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful question. So one of the things that you do to become a bodhisattva is you make a commitment to take on the activity of a bodhisattva, and hopefully, if I fake it, I'll make it, right? So those that have taken up the practices of a bodhisattva, it makes no difference. Once you've made that commitment, it makes no difference if they're screaming at your face or not delivering couches. Your job is to be compassionate with wisdom and turn every opportunity into steps to enlightenment. Correct.
How do you handle the seeds you're planting while you're having those thoughts?
Yeah, good question. I wish we had time to go into detail, but I'll give you a quick shortcut, okay? Because it was a very recent experience. Yeah. We talked about anger being a very intense emotion, yeah? Which means the imprint on your mind, the seeds recorded in your mind have intensity, right? So I could have just let go of my old habit and go, oh, you're just a stupid lady. You don't know what you're doing on the phone. I'm so angry at you. I felt those voices come up. They're echoes from before. I actually don't feel that way normally. I can get that way if I let it happen, but I have enough controls, moments to stop, and we'll cover it in a sec on how to prevent anger from arising, to ride the wave of almost angry, ride the wave of the energy. It's still prana flowing, it's still energy moving through your body, and I'm getting on my enlightened surfboard on top of that thing, and I'm transforming that lady and the call and what the couch means and everything, and I'm relabeling it all because I'm planting very deep seeds, powerful seeds with emotion that want me to say, you're a shitty person, which means I'll experience being a shitty person. And now instead, I am saying, you must be a holy teacher that is bringing up in me old seeds of anger, which I now get to fix thanks to your shitty little service, which you must be doing as a trick to get me to see how I could be angry, but I'm not going to do it. Right? And it has the intensity of what the anger would have been. That comes in Sojong, okay? That comes in Lojong, sorry, and also in Sojong. So here are some verses. Someone want to read out? I just thought, do you get the idea of not getting angry? Yeah? Anger will shortcut, will destroy a bunch of seeds in your mind. Yeah? Later, can we do later? Yeah. Can someone read this so you get a flavor of the verses that you get in the reading? Someone? Can you read?
Allison Joy volunteer.
A single instance of anger destroys whatever good deeds you may have amassed thousands of eons spent in practices like giving or making offerings to those who have gone to bliss. There is no kind of deed as evil as the act of anger. There is no spiritual hardship like patience. Practice it then. Concentrate on patience in many different ways.
Tiny fraction, okay? But now you understand why the hell they would be saying that, yeah? Whatever you put in comes out amplified. And this is a very powerful emotion in there. anger directed at someone that you might perceive not only could be enlightened or getting enlightened, which is actually cutting your connection to that whole idea, yeah, at the very least, at the very worst, and at the very least, they're human. They're a human being like you, at the mercy of their emotions, but they have all the spiritual plumbing to become enlightened. They have all the inner systems to become enlightened. They have a mind, they have leisure and fortune, they have, yeah. And so at the least, you're harming someone that could get enlightened, and you're planting those seeds just by being angry at them. Yeah, now, I have to give you this little corner because...
And you're being ignorant.
And you're being ignorant. And if you've taken on commitments, you're also not keeping your commitments, etc., etc. This is not a practice of, oh, I feel so bad for myself, okay? Please do not read into it like that. This is a practice of freeing you from negative habits that prevent you from getting happy. Imagine not having anger. Imagine go back in every bubble of your life and remove all the moments of anger. If they did in fact remove from you the possibility of virtuous seeds creating beauty in your world, every time you got angry, you've removed years of possible happiness, okay? Every time you got angry, according to this. Imagine not having gotten angry. How much happier or aware or wise or compassionate could you be? So it's an accelerator to enlightenment, not being angry, which is called patience. It doesn't mean waiting for the IKEA couch or bus. It means not the art of not getting angry when you should. They should have delivered it when they said it.
This may not be something we have time for.
Okay, so let's go to the next thing.
When should you then?
You should not get angry. Now, there might be times where you could pretend to get angry to make sure people understand. You've got to be skilled and know what you're doing and for what reasons. Okay. Yeah, that's not really what we're going to talk about today. But I'm saying it doesn't mean you have to be a doormat. Yeah, at some point you've tried the nice way, you've tried this way. At some point I said, no, I'm not angry, but you will deliver the couch when you promised. And if not, you're going to give me a discount. I'm sorry, we're too busy to talk. Well, then I'll talk to a supervisor. You know, that I'm not angry, but I'm not letting you get away with something because that's bad for you. Yeah, sorry. So there's this, if I can give you a nugget of the text as well, this one passage changed my attitude for decades, just this passage, and I hope you like it. This sort of breaks all excuses for getting angry, and it says if there's something you can do about it, why should you feel upset? If there's nothing you can do about it, what's the use of being upset? It sort of pictures you in a corner of, you can't get upset. Now, did he say angry?
No.
Why did he say upset? Because that leads to anger. I'm glad you said. Okay, so here are the theory of concentric circles. Anger might be too late to stop in the moment if you're trying to stop anger. But losing your joy, losing the bubbly, exciting stuff that we walk around life sometimes, losing that is fertile ground for anger. So maybe you're having a good time in the office or at the General Assembly with all the countries, yeah? So much fun and joy, yeah? And somebody says something nice about someone you dislike. They're like, that country is just amazing, even though they pulled out of the climate change agreement, yeah?
I don't
know what country we're talking about. But you're walking around going, great, we have the General Assembly, we've got an opportunity to create amazing change in the world, and someone comes up to you and says, I really love this country that pulled out of the climate change agreement, they're fantastic. And so it enters your mind, right? Your face hasn't changed, you're still like, oh, nice, welcome to the United Nations. Maybe not. What it does is it puts you off balance. Your mind begins to be off balance. And if you're not watchful, if you haven't developed the art of meditation, concentration, your capacity to bring your mind where you want it to, you might just go with the flow. From not quite noticing what she said or he said was a little upsetting, and I'm still going around my mind, but my mind has it there, it becomes throwing me off balance, yeah? Where you can be easily triggered by the next person that says something, or the next person that says something. And then you might feel a little bit upset, which is what the paragraph is saying. He's saying, if you want to, because upsetness would then lead to anger, yeah? Is that up there or not yet?
Yeah,
Yep.
upset.
Upset, it doesn't say anger, which I couldn't fit in there, yeah? So,
Angle.
so Master Shantideva is saying to us, if you really would like to get an accelerator for your enlightenment, stop anger. And if you want to stop anger, do militia tactics and starve it to death by not letting yourself be in situations where you get upset. And if you want to not be in situations where you get upset, be very aware and don't get off balance. Yeah, and if you want to not get off balance, try as hard as you can not to lose your joy. And if your mind is guarding joy, it's very unlikely you'll have an instance of anger. Make sense? They will come, they will arise, and if you're unlucky, you might have a sustained moment of anger. That's the a-hole that you were talking about. Right? It'll be in your mind for a long time, and you will carry that anger over and over, and it will begin to infect everything you put in your mind. So a strategy, a summary, or instead of reading the whole book, try to remain joyful. Yeah, and focus your mind on joy. Don't let it get off balance. Prevent the upsetness. As soon as upsetness comes, you've got 10 seconds or something before the next moment comes and you're just angry. And then you know that when you're angry, whether or not you hurt others, you are damaging your chances of being free from the suffering of this world, for real. Because the premise is nothing has a nature, not even your mind. And what you put in is what you experience, karma and emptiness, karma and emptiness. If you get that, the power to use any of these practices is in your hands. So then, I'm going to jump fairly fast through some examples that Master Shantideva uses. He's like, look, if anger is something that happened out there, like because the lady didn't deliver the couch, you should get angry, right? He's like, that's not quite right, because many people don't get the couch delivered and they're like, oh, thank goodness, I got another day to clean the filthy carpet. Yeah, it's not in the not delivery of the couch that anger came, right? It's in your mind. And so Master Shantideva is saying to us, look, I can prove it to you. When people go into battle, some people get a cut and see blood, and they're like, I'm fighting, this is going to be awesome, I'm more energetic. Yeah? And other people see a little bit of blood, and they're like, oh my goodness, yeah, that's Stephen. No, that's it. And they faint. And they are discouraged. And it's not in the blood, it's not in the cut. Where is it? It's in your mind. But it's not like by choice, it's forced upon you based on your habits. So on that premise, you don't have to be angry. How many, who gets angry when people say bad words to you? Like your friends, your lovers, your family say something, like call you by words you don't want them to use for you. Yeah, words make you angry, right? Words, letters strung together with decimals make you angry, right? They make me angry too. Like, no, we're not delivering at 6. That made me angry. Yeah. Is the anger coming from the letters? From the sounds? It's so simple, we miss it. It's so simple, we miss it. Where did it come from, the anger? Did it come through the iPhone? It must have come from me. I don't like it coming from me because I was peaceful until she sat on the couch. It's her fault. Yeah? So Master Shantideva then goes into a rant to say, hold on a minute, just like warriors into battle, you've got capacity for patience. You've got more capacity than you think for not getting angry or sleepy. Yeah. How many words, Walter, will you need before you get angry? Let's say, what's a favorite word you hate being called?
I could take one more. I don't know.
You're a poo head. Poo head. Is that a bad word? Yeah.
I think I could get angry before the first word. If there's a look.
Oh, just the look. Okay, let's go with the look. I was going to use words because I was going to say, well, how many times do you need the word before you jump from annoyed to anger, upset to anger? Is it 5 times that you need to hear the word, or the 6th time that they said it? Can you not handle 7? You can handle 6 and then you get angry? Is that what it is? Or the looks, how many times do they need to look at you in the raised eyebrow?
I had this experience walking down the sidewalk today where there were people walking in front of me and somebody walked through the crowd and walked into somebody else and kept going. And I got super angry at that person. I remember thinking they were the worst person in the world, thinking about all these horrible things they must be.
Yeah. On them, right?
I didn't even bump me, it bumped someone else.
Yeah. So have you ever seen anyone else be bumped? Have you ever bumped anybody with a good feeling and gone, hey? And the bumping happened and there was joy. Just maybe in this room, right? Yeah. See, she's smiling. You bumped her. The experience, like the point here, he'll talk about it in the text if you have a read. He'll say at some point how many instances of whatever it is that you're experiencing, being bumped on the street or seeing someone being bumped or being called by bad names, how many times before you flip from upsetness to anger? Yeah, and we all have like, I can take 6, but I cannot take 7, right? Master Shanti is like, are you stupid? Like, it's in your mind. You could take 7 if you had to, just like a warrior. Like, if your life depended on it, you'd take 8, right? So he's forcing us to think, check your mind. It is the suppository, no, the repository. Your mind is the suppository. Your mind is the repository of your whole existence. It's anyway. What else does he say? Oh, get this. 9 o'clock. Okay. In the middle of this chapter, Master Shantideva is going, you guys want to get free from suffering? You really want a short path, the Mahayana path, the fast path to take care of others and so on. You really want it? Don't get angry. Okay. Don't get angry. Anger is bad for you. Okay. You could stretch your patience. You can be more patient than you think. Okay. And then he shifts, a complete shift. He's like, oh, by the way, let's talk about the nature of reality. Who created the world? Is there a creator? Where does the world come from? Just shift. And he doesn't do it in the chapter on wisdom, where he's trying to identify where the world comes from. He's doing it smack in the middle of talking about patience. Why? I prepared this earlier.
Because we are creating the cause of anger.
No, he wants to get us to understand that potentially, because we don't know until we prove it, we are the cause of anger. That's awesome. Yeah, okay, I thought we were going to have more deliberation. Yeah. Fine. He wants really for us to know with as much certainty as we're capable of where the things that cause us problems come from. Where did the delay in the IKEA couch come from? It was definitely the delivery company, nothing to do with me. Why would it have anything to do with me? I did everything right. I called them ahead of time, I scheduled the time, I canceled all my appointments. I did everything right. So if I think of the world out there, someone else is responsible for my experience of the world, right? Because it wasn't me that made them late. It couldn't be. I was very good today. If I think the world is out there, then I should get angry, yeah? And if I understand the wisdom that I tried to share with you about the straw becoming a pen, becoming an empty chew toy, yeah? If this is true, that the world is coming from us based on what we've got in here, then the delay doesn't have a nature of its own. It doesn't arrive on time, doesn't have a nature. The ordering and expecting it at 6 is empty of having to come at 6. Where does not coming at 6 come from? For me. Where does it come from for me? This way, and all the anger and feelings that are associated to it, or this way? Answer, for me, right? Is it a bad thing for me? Yes, if it gives me anger, sorry, we don't have a bed couch tonight. Yeah? There's all these implications that make me uncomfortable about this fact. That is fact. It didn't arrive. It's late. But I had nothing to do with it. Did I or did I not have anything to do with it? Why must I have had? Because I am the experiencer. So one of the possibilities that we discussed with the lady on the phone was that the driver took some time off for a drink to get their lunch, right? And is running late due to traffic. Yeah, that's the real cause. It's traffic. It can't be Hector. Right? Was he happy with the delay, assuming that he got lunch? The delay for them meant lunch. And if he was in Australia, it would have been lunch and a beer, mate. Yeah? So the delay object, from its own side, didn't have a nature, but for them, it meant, oh, I get a break. For me, it meant problem and good content for tonight's class. Yeah? It didn't have a nature. I must be related to that event. At the bare minimum, forget the external events, my entire projection feeling just like yours, Walter, getting really angry at that person that hurt someone else, all happening in your own mind. Maybe that person that got bumped has nobody to hug them, and they just enjoyed someone touching them on the street, bumping into them. Yeah? Maybe. I'm not saying that's what it is, but I'm saying it's a possibility. We don't know, other than our own experience of each experience we have, what that thing is separate from us. We don't know. What we do know is that for me, that was trouble. And if this theory is true, that things don't have a nature, that the nature comes from something in my mind, then what must have I put in my mind to experience this as a terrible thing? Something bad. Some delay that I knew was hurting someone. And in there comes the crux. I accept that my relationship to this event caused me upsetness.
You said you have to know that you hurt somebody?
Using logic, like the one we used for the pen, does it have a nature? No. What brings its nature? The mind perceiving it. Does being late have a nature? Meaning, must it cause me upsetness? No. What caused it upsetness and problems?
You must have known that you caused it.
I must have had awareness for it to be recorded in my mind that what I was doing was causing some kind of delay to others. And in there comes the crux. If you get that, then this gives you freedom to choose. Yeah?
So I totally get this.
Yeah.
But it's so hard to reconcile with things like bombings and
rape, all these horrible things in the world. Absolutely. And you have to go through that process. You have to look at that with this logic to be able to transform that. And a way that I can give you, we won't have time to do it here, a way I can give you is consistent understanding of where things really come from, playing with that framework within a safe environment, leaving things on the shelf that are too much trouble for you to focus on until you get the depth of logic behind this reasoning. The other trick I use is let's forget this reasoning exists, and the only way to fix things is bomb those that are bombing us, punch those that are punching us, yeah, do the same old, and that's going to fix us, right? Doing the same thing we've always done on this planet, which is to stop people harming us, let's do preventive strikes. Yeah, that doesn't help. Yeah, my mind has the same problems you do. It's like, hold on, this poor baby, he didn't have a choice of whatever happened to them, right? And you have to investigate deeper until you get those answers. You're not going to get it today, yeah? But Master Shantideva goes into, you guys have to get to that question. Yeah, it's a really good question. You have to come to an understanding that says, where did all this stuff that pissed me off come from? Because if piss me off can cut me off from enlightenment, I don't want to get pissed off. Where is it? And if you play with this idea that there's something in you, then you can fix it. If it's in them, sorry, you're done. May as well party, drink up, and say bye-bye. Yeah? Because it's all downhill from here. If the power of what happens to you is outside of you, you're screwed. Because someone else is manipulating your life. And you got no choice. And Master Shantideva debates with a couple of ideas at the time, 700 AD in India, that proposed a creator God, an all-powerful, all-loving creator God, similar to our Western perception of a God, as the reason why things happen to me, yeah? And he does a couple of arguments, chew on this. It was transformative for me to hear it, and growing up a Catholic scared the shit out of me to even hear it, let alone consider it, yeah? So I understand the importance of what I'm saying to you. So there was a concept of an all-powerful, all-loving creator God, a creator of everything, loves everyone, yeah, can do anything, has power. And there was this Tsowo, this idea of an unchanging primordial being, yeah, similar to our Big Bang theory, yeah. No one came before him. He was creator of everything. Both these ideas, Tsowo and Duck, both these ideas at the time had similarities to what we conceive of today. So I'll associate the Big Bang theory that at some point there was a Big Bang where everything stemmed from and started creating matter and energy and the whole thing, and it started from
Nothing.
From
Emptiness, nothing.
From nothing, right? So from nothing came a Big Bang. I remember that in the 90s, and then in these classes with Geshe Michael, a physicist came and says, no, sorry, Geshe Michael, you're wrong. There was a previous Big Bang. Now we're sure, we're certain. There was a Big Bang before the Big Bang. That caused the first Big Bang. The second Big Bang, sorry. And Geshe was like, oh, what caused the first one? Nothing. That's the answer we have, sorry. Yeah, that's the answer we have. It's a physical look at the universe separate to your conception of it. It's an inside-out idea according to Master Shantideva. If there is an original moment where everything stemmed from, even the color of your eyes and the shape of your nose, and yours is different to yours, and all that came from no cause, Master Shantideva goes, are you crazy? You can't have a changing thing coming from nothing. You can't have a stable, unchanging thing creating something, because it needs to change. So it's not unchanging. Yeah? Get this in your mind. It will challenge where you really think your world comes from. Yeah? If you really think all this matter is produced by no cause at all, by something that wasn't there and then all of a sudden was there, and all the matter occurred, and you're just some random bits of atom with a bit of consciousness, then we have a problem, because you cannot change that. Yeah, your mind is equally under the forces of cause and effect, and that's where this philosophy turns it inside out. It places your mind smack in the middle of all this perception. And a person can walk into this room and have a terrible experience, and a person can walk into this room and have a blissful experience, and a person can walk into this room and be bored. And it doesn't come from the room. And we know that to be true. And Master Shantideva is saying, consider the causes for all the things you want to be upset about. That's what he's talking about it in the patience chapter. He's like, if you don't get this, you're forever hoping that someone's going to come and save you. No one is coming to save you. The other option is Duck, the self-existent being, the creator of everything, that is all compassionate, all loving, bam, created everything. And Master Shantideva and the debates at the time argued in the same way that they argued Soul, which is, hold on, who created him? No one created him. He's the creator. Oh, so he would have had to conceive of himself to produce his first moment, no? It's like, yeah, so he was there before he was there? What are you talking about? Right? So through logic, he's like, well, you got that wrong, but let's forget that. Let's forget that the being that started everything had to have been started by himself, because he's one of everything, right? So he must have been there to go pop into being. Yeah. Silly argument, forget that. Let's take the other two. All powerful, all loving. Loves you to death. Literally. Bye-bye, you're dead. This one dies today, that one dies tomorrow. Why? I was good. Sorry, didn't pray enough. No, I did. I prayed really good. Never prayed, living till 100. Babies with AIDS. You either cannot have the power or chooses not to exercise that power. Think about it. I know what I'm telling you is earth-shattering for a Western audience, okay? It bothered me to hear it, but I couldn't remove it from my mind for the logic. It freed me to not just look at where reality comes from. It, in fact, gave me the tools to go back into my Catholic practices and understand why you could meet a Virgin Mary that was completely blissful and giving you teachings and get you free from suffering. If she doesn't have a nature, it's possible for my mind to perceive a shadow in a cave as an appearance of an enlightened being going, do these things and you'll be fine. And you're like, wow. And someone else walks in and says, that's just a shadow. And you're like, yeah, for you. And with certainty, you can live in that realm where realities shift because you understand they come from it. And you don't need to believe it. To believe it, it sort of implies that you don't know. If you have to believe in something. And Buddha is saying, don't believe, investigate, break it down, ask the difficult questions, ask those questions. But get to the essence of where all this stuff that's hurting you come from. Because if you know, and if it's caused, you can uncause it. You can create different causes. Because there are moments of joy in your life, no? Who's had joy in their life? Who's had love in their life? Who's felt all loving? That's also caused. It doesn't have to end. If you find, if that's really in you, and these things we call senses are not receptors, but projectors of our reality, then we just got to get busy finding out what it is that will, first of all, plant the right projections, the karmas. And secondly, you want to do that fast. Because TikTok, you're already a course thing. You have a shelf life. Does anybody know what their shelf life is? Can someone tell me a date? You don't know, but you know it's coming. So between now and then, do you just leave it up to someone else? And Master Shantideva is like, be certain about it. So he's like, yes, you can get angry, you can stop anger. No anger accelerates your steps to enlightenment. But if you really want to accelerate, understand the wisdom that says, what do you know about where your anger comes from? And if you place the onus here, my world is coming from what I've done to others, then you get busy replanting that. Now, does that automatically exempt you from suffering? No. I know. 20 years more practicing these things. My mum just passed away 5 weeks ago. That hurt. That hurt. It's coming. But how did I experience that horrid thing? And a little bit better than my siblings. How's that? And how did my mum experience it? How was I able to perceive my mum's experience? Uncontrived, okay? Just naturally. Like, I gave up all pretense, like trying to be a good person. I'm like, what can I do in this moment to help her mind bring to the surface the best things in her mind? And I saw some experiences come up for her towards the end. And I felt some experience there that is sublime. It's hard to say. I experienced a sublime feeling when my mum passed away, but I did. So is death bad? Is death from its own nature a shitty thing? Or can that transformation of body and mind be perceived as something other than the end? And I can tell you, after 20-something years of trying, I got a glimpse, a tiny glimpse, that you all have inside of you the potential to transform the very nature, the very fabric of what we take for granted, life. You're incredible beings. You are projectors of entire universes. Those blisses, those loves, those insights, those moments of joy that you've had, you still have them in you. And this method is saying, access that now. Turn it on, not just for yourself, because it feels good, but look around you, the people bumping onto each other. They're hurting. You can help them if you figure it out. Hope that gave you. So anyway, he says, can a creator being create himself? I won't go through the answers. He challenges us to say, if you can get certain that you have something to play in your reality, then you can change it. If it's some sarcastic, or not sarcastic, what is it? Sadistic being who has all power, but no, that child will burn and that will not. That makes no sense. What if they did have the whole power to do that? Well, make them suffer for a millisecond, not lifetimes. Maybe you can't do anything about it. Maybe it's not like that. Maybe that's a way to interpret what we can't understand. But here, you don't need belief. You need, to the best of your capacity, to investigate the nature of your reality and then get to work. The work is not easy, but it will free you. And first you get that intellectually, and then you get it experientially. So then he asks you a bunch of questions. You know, the idea of the pen towards the objects and the people, and your reactions and your situations, and ultimately he gets down to what's your identity. Yeah, the way you think of yourself, that also doesn't have a nature. The way you learn also doesn't have a nature. It's quite beautiful. And so he asks us to go and look for the real causes, which I just covered. And he gives this really funny example. I didn't get it at the beginning. He says, imagine someone comes at you with a stick and hits you really hard on the arm. Should you get angry at the stick because it hurt you? Should you get angry at the person holding the stick because they were the force that impelled the hit? Or should you get angry at the anger that the person was impelled to hit you with a stick with? Is that what I mean?
Or your boyfriend for not stopping.
Yeah, nice. So who should you get? Do you get angry at the stick?
No, it doesn't have a mind.
Mm. But it's okay to get angry at beings with a mind.
No, because you don't know what they're thinking.
Cool, good. No, because you don't know what they're thinking. So he asked you, consider that. If you don't get angry at sticks, why then do you get angry at people that shove others on the street, that give wrong medication to your mum, that don't deliver IKEA couches? Why do you get angry at the people then? Because aren't they, just like a stick, being forced to do something on misunderstanding and anger, which you know so well? Aren't they at the same whim of anger and misunderstanding like you are? Why would you be angry at them? He's trying to give you all these tools to say, don't get angry ever, because it will cut your shortcut to freedom. Yes, but they deserve for me to get angry. Anyway, so he says, don't get angry at the stick. Why then do we get angry at a person? Etc., etc. And to even drive the point further, in this chapter where it's all about patience, right, not getting angry, he's like, actually, you should cherish the opportunity every time you see someone shoving someone down the street, every time someone doesn't deliver a couch. He's like, you should just love the opportunity. So I'm waiting for the couch, right? I'm like, I'm not loving the opportunity, it sucks. Yeah.
So you shouldn't actually get angry at anger, because then you're gonna, you want to flip it and see it as an opportunity.
Absolutely, yeah. But he's saying, like, kill anger.
Yeah.
There's no reason to have anger. Right. Yeah. But if you're going to use that energy, focus it on the thing that causes you anger. Yeah. That anger itself. Yeah. Which is by reframing it. So they're like, no, if you stay another hour, we'll deliver it. I'm like, no, I have to leave. Like, I have to leave in 20 minutes. Let me call the truck. Like, it's an hour on the phone now. I'm like, I haven't showered. I haven't printed this thing yet, which I haven't used. I'm just finishing this. I'm on hold. The house is a mess. I'm like, on speakerphone, I'm showering. Yeah? and this thing is in my mind, cherish the opportunity. And what's my mind going to say? Screw that. Like, cherish the opportunity. I'm forced into this terrible experience of having to shower at no time at all. Like, that's what my mind is going. And then you're like, no, where is the opportunity? Where is the opportunity at that moment when you're feeling the upsetness, want to grab you and say, direct your anger at the voices on the other phone?
To practice patience.
How?
The opposite.
But what's the opportunity? What's the miracle in that whole situation?
It's even happening to you, so you have the opportunity to practice it.
Correct. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't see this thing that I'm now slashing and burning with as much wisdom and practice as I can master, smiling in the shower, tripping over the soap. Yep.
And also remember it's impermanent.
Yeah, it could change. Like, I could have let it go at any moment. Yeah.
The house itself too.
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely impermanent. Yeah. If it's true that this very heightened experience we have of feeling a strong emotion towards someone that is negative, that we can flip, that we can see, oh, I still got them, I'm going to practice not having them, then every being that ever made you angry is your ticket to enlightenment. Because they're showing you what you need to remove, which is what you want to remove. You want freedom from upsetting emotions. And these perfect beings are pissing you off just in the right way to wake you up and say, hello, remove me. Remove me. And if it's true that things are your projection, you do that enough and you'll do this flipping where they're the annoying IKEA person and they are your perfect teacher. And then you're like, no, I don't want you to be the perfect teacher. You're the annoying IKEA person. And you see your mind having the capacity to shift. Which one do you want? They really are your ticket to enlightenment. They are the reason you can get enlightened. And they will appear less and less and less and less. So it says, remember that and repay their kindness. Repay these enlightened beings who are calling you to wake up, repay their kindness. And what do you think Master Shantidev would tell us is the best way to...
Get angry at them so they can...
He's like, be angry at them. Forget everything I said.
Order another couch.
Yeah, order another couch. Screw IKEA. Say, sorry, we've got a couch. You guys are really learning. This is awesome. Yeah. We should write our own book in New York. He's like, break the cycle. Be good to every single living being you can possibly think is the highest method. Whatever you're challenged, overcome the challenge. Plant the seeds that you want to experience, regardless of the echoes you're experiencing in the moment. So if you want to dedicate your efforts of being in the shower in a soapy situation with a speakerphone that's about to fall into the bathtub and blah, 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 then you dedicate that whole experience to, I am so grateful, I'm going to treat this lady super good while still getting what I need to get. Yeah, not letting her plant bad seeds either, but I'm doing it in a good way. Yeah. So then, only wow, I'm going to finish on time. Only a couple of things to go. Master Shantideva finishes the chapter on patience. Bottom line is, don't get angry. Okay, here are all these methods. Why? It stops you from reaching that thing that you want so much. Understand where your world comes from. Plant everything you need to plant in your mind, and then wait, because it doesn't happen instantly, and begin to see how your world transforms. That's your experiment if you choose to flip this world inside out. And then he's like, but you can't do that without joy, right? You need to do these practices and infect them with the very essence that you want when you reach enlightenment, which is bliss. All things don't have a nature. Because they don't have a nature, they can be absolutely anything that you have planted them to be. And to be permanently free from the cycles of ups and downs and things and no couches. The opposite of that, or the highest state that you could experience, would be a state of permanent bliss, regardless of what's coming at you, truly seeing things as the highest they possibly can, not pens, not chew toys, but the most perfected item ever that when you hold, you have an inner orgasm. Yeah, and then you give it to someone and you're having that kind of bliss. Assuming you like orgasms. Yeah. Some people are like, I don't want one. So he enters then the chapter on joyful effort. I'm trying to make you laugh because it's joyful. And he defines it. The first few lines here says, joyful effort means feeling awesome when you're doing good things. Good things are things planted in your mind and in other people's worlds because you're watching yourself making other people happy, yeah? And you're going, that was awesome. A perfect thing is I have a friend who saw a lady lose 20 bucks in a store. She was running around going, I wonder where the 20 bucks is. Anyone see my 20 bucks? And he just secretly planted 20 bucks near the floor there and was like, oh, I think it's over there. And she's like, oh, so good. And he's like, right? Because who gets the 20 bucks? She does. What does he get? Like 100 bucks. And the joy associated with that action. If your mind indeed is a recorder that then projects your entire reality, and there's a bunch of laws of karma that we can study, but one of them is that like produces like. Being shitty produces experiencing shitty. Being angry, anger. Being happy, happy. Being wise, wise. Yeah? Being generous, abundance. Yeah? Taking care of life, long life. Do you see it? Yeah? But what if you color all those things with bliss? I love doing good things. I love dropping 20s secretly. Of course, now it's not secret. Yeah. So he defines it as joy in doing good. So virtue produces your bliss, and you have to, this is a practice, you have to generate excitement. Did I spell it wrong? Yeah, okay. And so you want to meditate, You can go to the meditation cushion, which is you observing the nature of your mind, go, oh shit, I'm meditating. Equal opposite reaction. Will you develop better capacity to meditate, assuming you meditated? Yes. What flavor will it come with? I could meditate for 2 hours now. Great. Yeah. Sneak in a little extra. Go, oh, I'm so excited. I was supposed to meditate for half an hour. I did 45 minutes today. Enjoy yourself doing virtue, taking care of yourself through all these practices. You want to do retreat? Do more than the minimum. Do 2 retreats. Go to your boss. Go to your job tomorrow morning. Yes! I get to see all those mental afflictions in 3D. And smile at them. They've got no idea why I'm smiling in the boardroom. You're like, I'm fixing you today. But get excited. It's your secret. You're changing the world and you're helping them. Yeah? And so with this flavor, you act in the world. And that must also give you a result. Yeah, go to the United Nations. In fact, the entire world, like that's fertile ground. Yeah, morning practice, it's a privilege. Yeah, if this functions, because things do function, cause and effect, cause and effect. Yes, you did come to this room because your legs got you through the door. But why did your legs work in the first place? What's the energy behind the action that brought you here? Some people have legs that couldn't get to the room. Some people have legs that don't work. What is the essence that makes things function? Yes, things function. Legs let you walk. But what is it behind the nominal experience that is creating the real causes, not the nominal causes, why things function? And that is what we charge with every action, planting those seeds in our minds. Yeah, I came to Dharma class, excited. Hector's going to talk about the couch. Yeah. And then 2 more things, and then we're done. He starts talking about, well, what stops joy? What is it that stops joy? There are 3 things in the text that he says will stop joy. What kind of doubt? Laziness. Yeah, which doubt, lazy doubt can come from that. Doubt, the Buddha says you should doubt, don't believe.
No doubt in your own.
Oh, cool. Okay, close. So, lazy, yeah, not making the effort. Now you know, the world comes from you. Leave your minds as they are, and then you're fine. No, you have to do something. Being attracted to negative things that you know don't, like, I just like yelling at the IKEA girl. It just makes me feel so good. Yeah, I know I'm not supposed to, but no. Yeah, like getting off in doing things that cause harm. We all have some aspect of this. We have habits of this. You are not those things. You are the habits of those things. You have those as habits, sorry. The third one is what you said, being discouraged. Yeah. Maybe I can't, I'm just a person. I mean, I came from South America. I'm Argentinian. We were poor. I could barely finish high school because I had to do it in English. I can never get enlightened. I can never read it. This sounds good if you're in India 700 AD. But it's 2018, we've got Instagram, that's suffering. That's real suffering. Today we found out the new ISO has a feature, ISO? iOS. ISO is old photography days. iOS has a feature where you could restrict the number of hours you can be on Instagram. Did you know that? You can say no more than 5 hours.
No more than
I don't know what happens after the 5 hours.
You can do like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
I'm not sure how it works yet.
The phone explodes when you... But you know, we all have this, and you mentioned it, it's like that. It's like, maybe I can't do it.
In your capacity.
Yeah. Maybe I can't do it. Maybe I can't reach enlightenment.
Is this kind of like if you feel like you've been doing it a while and you're not seeing the results, or you're not getting the effect that you wanted?
I think it's a little below that, a little more substantial than that. Yeah, but the answer will help that too. So the one I want to focus on before we finish is getting discouraged. You understand from this class the essence of Buddhist teaching, understanding where things come from, that what you put in your mind will create your reality, understanding that logically, hearing the pen thing once, 1,000 times, lets you then pick up any practice and understand that if you're being kind to someone, it will force an experience of kindness. If you're creating bliss in others, it will force an experience of bliss. If you're being shitty to others, it will force an experience of shit. If you know that, and nobody out there is doing it for you, you're doing it. Yeah, and our instinctive reaction of lashing out when we're hurt is actually what's causing our problems. Every time I lash out, every time I hurt another because they hurt me, is actually what creates all my suffering. Understanding that, flipping that, and then getting busy with joy, practicing, is the thing that will free you. But then this thing will come into your mind going, but maybe I can do this, but I can't do that. Maybe I cannot overcome aging and death as an experience. I'm just a human. I haven't seen anybody not die. Just like I haven't seen anybody not be a bodhisattva. So he says, think of Buddha nature, your innate Buddha nature. And those of you who have studied with me, what does that mean?
Emptiness.
Blah, 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 blah.
The emptiness of your mind. The fact that Buddha doesn't have a nature of its own, or to have a perception of bliss. That perception isn't coming from anything other than what you've created. And so if Buddha created a mind like that, because mind is empty of a nature, then you also create a mind of bliss.
Because your mind is also
empty, like
of a nature. Yeah. The way you are right now, the way your mind is completely constructing who you think you are. Sometimes I'm angry, sometimes I'm jealous, sometimes I'm joyful, I'm very analytical, I'm very sleepy, whatever it is that you think you are, that's a changing thing. Rewind 5 years, rewind 10 years. Oh, but I was always Hector. I wasn't actually, I was Marcelo at the beginning, and then I was Hector, but then I felt like the same person. I am me. Ultimately get this to me, and we begin to label me as a thing and give it a reality that it does not have. You're a forever changing thing, and your change is dependent on all the seeds of what you have done to others, like it or not. That's a huge amount of potential. But the fact that you are a changing thing is because, like the pen, your consciousness that perceives itself doesn't have a nature. It's not this kind of mind. You know that because sometimes this kind of mind becomes that kind of mind, and you're still me. Yeah? Your minds, as you perceive them, don't have to be that way. They're not that way from their own side. They are that way because of causes and conditions that you've planted over time. And just like a Buddha's mind is empty of having a nature, so is your mind. There's an identical thing between your mind and a Buddha's mind, that they don't have a way of being from their own side. They are nothing but the mind projecting onto itself an identity of me. Except the Buddha doesn't have that technique. We'll talk about in the story. But you get the essence, what I'm saying, right? You have that potential right now sitting in this room. Even if you feel solid, that you are your name or your body or your shape or your thoughts or your feelings, you're neither of those things. You're none of those things. And you are all of those things today, right now. But next week, no. I told you my mom passed away recently. I saw minute by minute shifts in her identity because of the imminent moment. And some days she was hopeful, some days she was angry, some days she was at peace, some days she was looking forward to the journey. Which one was she? She was all of them. Why is some mind able to shift and change? Because if it was only this way, then it would have remained constant the entire time. Our minds don't do that. Our minds are changing things. And they are reflecting what we put in them. So right now, you have what's called Buddha nature. The fact that your mind isn't what you think its nature is. It means your mind has infinite potential. The next millisecond, you could be in complete bliss for a long time. The next millisecond, you could be in complete suffering. It's changing. Due to causes and conditions, we want to go and manipulate. This book helps you manipulate those things. So it is essentially the emptiness of a Buddha's mind that will become the Dharmakaya. We can talk about that later. And that you have that same potential. That should give you every hope that you can, in fact, and you must, in fact, reach a state of enlightenment. You just need to avoid anger. And then he says, don't go jumping straight in. Develop each to their own capacity. Don't think, okay, I could be a Buddha. Now I will feed all of New York City, and that'll be a good deed. I'll go into debt, $3 million, and I'll feed everybody. I'm enlightened. No, everyone to their own capacity. So in essence, what I wanted you to walk away with today, and I hope you got the essence, and this course digs deeper into these things, but today I wanted to make sure you understood that removing anger accelerates your virtue, gets you faster to enlightenment, that investigating where things really come from, really having the guts to check it out and taking full responsibility for your experience of the world will shift your understanding and the way you behave, karma and emptiness. And then with joy, you get busy planting all the things you want to come up in your world, with joy, even in the shower. And then you should feel super, super encouraged that you have the plumbing, the potential to really become free from the things that currently haunt us. And that, if you do it in a sustained way, if all the blisses you've ever had can be extended for a minute, or 5 minutes, or 10 minutes, or half a lifetime, if you can create the courses for another half a lifetime, if you can create the courses to infect every part of the world that you experience, then you are out of samsara, out of the causes that you think are creating suffering for you, because you have seen a truth that you don't need faith in. I hope that makes sense. With that, whatever goodness you got, there's a practice that says, before I screw it up, I want to capture that good karma, that good seed that I put in my mind, and I want to give it to every person on the planet in all time that could need this wisdom. And that makes you plant another karma that says that's safe and sound in your continuum. So Steve, let's dedicate.
Sashi
Hoki Jushin Metotram Rira Vinchin Yunde Yampati Sangye Shindu Mite Wari Drokun Namda Shinla Chuparsho Nidam Guru Ratna Mandala Kambiryatayami
Kewa
Di Gyokun Sunam Yeshe Soksoshin Sunam Yeshe Lejun Oi Damba Kuni Toparsho.
From the depths of my heart, thank you for listening to the only thing that I know will change life. And I hope you got something, and I hope when you hit that head on your pillow tonight, that you remember the thing that you could use the most to transform your own life. I feel really blessed to be back at the Three Jewels teaching the final ACI course. And for those of you interested, There is a meditation teacher training we're doing, is my advertising part. Applications close before the end of the week on Thursday, this time next week. Applications closed. There's only 3 spots left. I saw an application, so it might be 2. And talk to any Stephen, myself, Rachel, anyone if you're interested. These courses are free or by donation. Three Jewels is a non-profit. We use whatever funds we get to pay for the stupid rent and enjoy it. And also do non-profit work either in Nepal, Department of Homeless Services, schools, and the rest, and have community classes like this one or meditations. So feel free to contribute if you can. If not, become a member. It's a really nice community. Enjoy the coffee, talk to strangers. It's a safe space. I hope you come again. Come again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah. My pleasure. And IKEA said they're going to call that 9:30.